Tonight we're stepping back, way back, to a time when empires rose and fell like sandcastles in the tide, to a land cradled by two mighty rivers, a place of ziggurats and hanging gardens, of cuneiform and Hammurabi's law. We're going to find ourselves, you and I, right in the heart of ancient Babylon. Imagine the pre-dawn hush, the scent of dust and something vaguely animalistic in the air, the distant bleating of sheep, and the first stirrings of a city about to awaken. You're not just an observer, you're there, a resident of this sprawling, bustling metropolis, about to face the most crucial question of your ancient day. What exactly is for breakfast? Now, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. A little peek into our global community is always fun. So dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You awaken on a simple reed mat, the rough texture a familiar greeting against your cheek. The room is small, made of sun-dried mud bricks, and the air, even before the sun fully crests the eastern horizon, carries a certain warmth, a promise of the sweltering day to come. Through a narrow opening that serves as a window, you catch a glimpse of the early morning sky, a bruised purple giving way to a soft rose. The sounds of the city are just beginning to trickle in. The distant bray of a donkey, the low murmur of voices, the clanking of something metallic. You stretch, your joints protesting slightly, and a thought as persistent as the desert sun enters your mind. Hunger. Not the polite, rumbling kind we know, but the deep, gnawing hunger of someone whose physical labor will define their day, whose very survival depends on the sustenance they can acquire. This isn't a world of leisurely brunches or grab-and-go coffee. This is a world where every calorie counts, where the act of eating is intertwined with the relentless rhythm of daily life. As you rise, the straw of your mat crackles softly. You pull on a simple linen tunic, the fabric coarse but breathable, and secure it with a sash. Your home, humble though it is, offers a sense of security, a small refuge from the teeming world outside. You glance around the single room. There's a small clay hearth in the corner, cold now, and a few earthenware pots neatly stacked. The air smells faintly of yesterday's cooking, perhaps a lentil stew or some roasted fish. But that was dinner. Breakfast in this ancient land is a different affair entirely. You consider your options. Are you a farmer, rising before dawn to tend your fields of barley? A merchant preparing to open your stall in the bustling marketplace? A scribe, ready to painstakingly etch cuneiform into wet clay tablets? Your profession, your status in Babylonian society, would dictate not only what you ate, but also when and how you acquired it. For most Babylonians, breakfast was less a culinary event and more a practical necessity, a fuel stop before the long day's work. It wasn't about variety or exotic flavors. It was about calories and sustenance. You step outside your dwelling, the early morning light beginning to paint the mud brick walls of your neighborhood in warm hues. The narrow alleyway is still quiet, but you can hear the faint sounds of life stirring behind other doors. A dog barks somewhere in the distance. The air, for now, is relatively cool, a brief respite before the sun climbs high and scorches the land. You notice a neighbor emerging from their home, carrying a large clay jar. They offer a brief, silent nod, a shared acknowledgement of the day's impending labor. One mainstream historical fact about Babylonian daily life is that water was paramount. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers were the lifeblood of Mesopotamia, providing not only irrigation for crops but also drinking water. So, your first order of business, even before thoughts of food, would likely be to secure clean water. This often involved a trip to a nearby well or, for some, directly to the river, a far less sanitary option. You probably wouldn't survive this, by the way, given our modern sensibilities about water purity. Contaminated water was a constant threat, and diseases spread quickly. As you consider your hydration, your stomach gives a rather impolite growl. Right, breakfast. For many Babylonians, the concept of a distinct breakfast meal, as we understand it, simply didn't exist. Instead, the first meal of the day was often a continuation of dinner from the night before, or a simple, portable snack taken on the go. Imagine, if you will, gnawing on a piece of dried fish while you walk to the fields, or munching on a handful of dates as you set up your stall in the market. It wasn't about sitting down at a table, it was about efficiency. This leads us to a scholarly debate. Did the Babylonians have breakfast as a structured meal, or was it a more fluid concept of early-day sustenance? Scholars pore over ancient cuneiform tablets, looking for specific references to morning meals. Some argue that the Akkadian word sharam, often translated as morning, appears in contexts that suggest a morning repast. Others contend that these references are too vague to definitively establish a distinct breakfast ritual. It's a bit like trying to figure out if someone had a brunch 1,000 years from now by looking at their grocery list. Let's assume for a moment that you do want something more substantial than last night's leftovers. What are your options? The staple of the Babylonian diet was barley. This versatile grain was used to make bread, porridge, and perhaps most importantly, beer. So your morning sustenance might very well involve a thick, heavy barley bread, perhaps still warm from the communal oven. This bread wouldn't be the light, airy loaves we're accustomed to. Think dense, almost brick-like, designed to provide maximum calories and sustain you through hours of hard labor under the unforgiving sun. It was the original power bar, just a lot less refined and a bit more likely to break a tooth. You might break off a chunk and eat it plain, or perhaps dip it in a little olive oil if you were fortunate enough to have some. Or, if you were feeling particularly fancy, you might crumble it into a bowl of water to create a sort of gruel. Ah, the gourmet delights of ancient Mesopotamia. Another common breakfast item, or at least a very popular food item consumed at any time of day, was dates. Date palms were abundant in Mesopotamia, and dates were a rich source of sugar and energy. You might have a handful of dried dates, sticky and sweet, to give you that much-needed morning boost. They're like nature's candy, but without the artificial colors and the shame spiral after eating too many. A quirky tidbit about dates: they were so important that their cultivation was carefully regulated, and even Hammurabi's code has laws pertaining to date palm ownership and maintenance. You mess with a date palm, you might just lose a hand. Talk about sweet justice. The Babylonians were serious about their fruit. Beyond bread and dates, what else might grace your breakfast table, or more likely, your hand as you head out the door? Fish was a common protein source, especially for those living near the rivers. Dried or salted fish could be a quick and easy bite to start the day. Imagine the aroma, not exactly fresh coffee and pastries, is it? More like a fishmonger's delight, but at 6 a.m. Lentils and chickpeas were also staples, often made into a thick stew or a paste. You might have a small bowl of a leftover lentil stew from the previous evening, warmed over the embers of the fire. This would be a hearty and nutritious way to begin your day, though perhaps not the most exciting. It's the kind of breakfast that whispers, "You're going to work hard today, so eat up." Let's not forget the importance of beer. Yes, beer for breakfast. Before you start imagining a frat party in ancient Babylon, understand that Babylonian beer was very different from what we drink today. It was thick, often cloudy and highly nutritious, more like a liquid bread or porridge. It was a significant source of calories and nutrients, and it was safer to drink than water in many cases, as the brewing process killed off many harmful bacteria. So a large jug of beer might be your morning beverage, giving you energy and hydration. You probably wouldn't be getting drunk off of it, at least not quickly, due to its low alcohol content and high nutritional value. It's the original breakfast of champions. If by champions you mean hardworking laborers facing a long day under the sun. You can almost hear your inner Babylonian saying, "Another day, another pint of liquid bread. Cheers to that." Your social status also played a huge role in your breakfast options. If you were a wealthy merchant or a member of the elite, your breakfast might be more varied and refined. You might have access to fresh fruits, perhaps grapes or pomegranates in season, and even some dairy products like yogurt or cheese. Meat, while generally not a daily staple for the common person, might occasionally appear on an elite breakfast table, perhaps a small piece of roasted lamb or goat. Imagine the scent of roasting meat wafting through the cool morning air, a rare treat for most, but a regular indulgence for the privileged few. Life, even in ancient Babylon, had its perks, and a good breakfast was definitely one of them for the well-to-do. But for the vast majority, the common folk, breakfast was about simplicity and practicality. It was about fueling the body for the day's demands. You wouldn't find elaborate pastries or fluffy omelets. You'd find barley bread, dates, a bit of dried fish, and a lot of beer. It was a diet dictated by the land, by the seasons, and by the relentless grind of survival. So as you contemplate your early morning meal, you choose a piece of hard, dense barley bread. You break off a chunk, the crust surprisingly tough, and begin to chew. It's dry but filling. You wash it down with a draft of thick, murky beer from a clay jug. It's not delicious in the modern sense, but it serves its purpose. It's fuel. And as the sun begins to climb higher, casting long shadows across the alleyway, you feel a faint sense of readiness. The day is here, and you are for now sustained. As the sun continues its relentless ascent, painting the mud brick city in hues of ochre and rust, you finish your pragmatic breakfast. The barley bread sits heavy in your stomach, a comforting anchor against the impending demands of the day. The beer, thick and nutritious, has quenched your initial thirst and provided a subtle hum of energy. You wipe your mouth with the back of your hand, a common gesture, and then you're ready to step out into the burgeoning life of Babylon. The narrow alleyways, once quiet, are now beginning to stir with activity. Merchants are unfurling their awnings, their voices, still somewhat husky with sleep, beginning to call out their wares. Donkeys laden with goods shuffle past, their hooves clattering softly on the packed earth. The air, initially cool, is already starting to warm, carrying the distinct sense of human endeavor. Dust, sweat, faint cooking smells, and the ever-present aroma of the river. You make your way towards the city's heart, the bustling marketplace. Even if you're not a merchant, the market is a central hub for news, gossip, and observing the endless ebb and flow of Babylonian life. As you navigate the winding paths, you notice the sheer volume of people. Babylon was a truly massive city for its time, a melting pot of cultures and professions. Everyone, it seems, is heading somewhere, driven by the unspoken urgency of the day. You narrowly avoid a collision with a man carrying a large basket of freshly harvested onions, their pungent aroma briefly cutting through the other smells. "Watch it, friend," he grumbles, but without malice. Such encounters are common, a small dance of proximity in a crowded world. The market is a symphony of sound, the bleating of sheep, The squawking of chickens, the haggling voices of vendors, the rhythmic clang of a metalworker's hammer. It's an immersive experience, overwhelming to modern senses, but to you, it's simply life. You pass a stall piled high with dates, golden and sticky, attracting swarms of buzzing flies. You recall your own humble breakfast of barley bread and a sip of beer, and a small, almost imperceptible sigh escapes your lips. The abundance here is tantalizing, a reminder of what could be if only fate had dealt you a different hand. But then again, the struggles of daily life are universal, regardless of wealth. Even the wealthiest Babylonian had their own set of anxieties, though probably not about where their next meal was coming from. You spot a baker's stall, and the scent of freshly baked bread, though it differs from your own dense barley loaf, is undeniably appealing. The baker, a burly man with flour dusted on his beard, is pulling hot loaves from a small, dome-shaped oven. These ovens, often communal, were essential to Babylonian life. Families would prepare their dough at home and then take it to the communal oven for baking. It was a social event as much as a practical one, a place where news was exchanged and community ties were strengthened. Imagine the early morning chatter, the shared anticipation of warm bread, the complaints about a neighbor's overly enthusiastic kneading technique. It's a moment of connection, a shared ritual. This widespread use of communal ovens is a great example of a mainstream historical fact about Babylonian society. Cooperation was key to survival. As you linger by the baker's stall, a small joke comes to mind. Why did the Babylonian baker always have extra dough? Because he needed it. You chuckle to yourself, a brief moment of levity amidst the serious business of the day. Another thought. What's a Babylonian's favorite type of music? Heavy metal, especially if it's the sound of a potter's wheel. Okay, maybe not that funny, but in this pre-Netflix era, you take what you can get. The baker eyes you, probably wondering if you're going to buy something or just inhale his profits. You decide to move along before he gets any ideas about charging you for the aroma. Speaking of food, historians still argue whether ancient Babylonians primarily consumed their grains as bread or as porridge. While bread was undoubtedly a staple, the preparation of grain into a thick gruel or porridge was also common, especially for children and the elderly, or as a quick, easy meal. The consistency would vary greatly, from a thin, watery concoction to a thick, almost solid mass. The debate hinges on interpretations of archaeological finds and textual references. Are those large, shallow bowls designed for eating solid bread or for scooping up liquid gruel? It's a surprisingly heated academic discussion, considering it's about ancient breakfast cereals. One scholar famously declared, "The future of ancient Babylonian breakfast studies rests on the porridge versus bread conundrum." He might have been joking, but then again, academic humor can be a strange beast. You pass a water seller, his cries echoing through the market. He carries a large water skin, its surface glistening with condensation, and offers small cups of cool, fresh water. Despite your earlier beer, the dry air is already making you thirsty. You consider buying a cup, but decide against it. Every shekel saved is a shekel earned. You know there's a public well not too far from your destination, and the water there, while perhaps not as cool, is free. Such small decisions, such minor economies, define daily life for the average Babylonian. It's a constant calculation, a weighing of need against resource. As you continue your journey, you notice a group of scribes gathered near the temple complex, their faces serious as they discuss something animatedly. Scribes were highly respected in Babylonian society, holding significant power due to their literacy in a largely illiterate world. They were the record keepers, the chroniclers of history, and the administrators of the empire. You imagine their breakfast might be slightly more refined, perhaps a bit of sweetened porridge or a small piece of cheese, a luxury for many. Their minds, after all, needed nourishment as much as their bodies, perhaps even more so given the complexities of cuneiform. A quirky tidbit: learning cuneiform was incredibly difficult, requiring years of arduous study. Imagine going to school for years just to learn how to write on mud. It makes your morning commute seem like a breeze. Your thoughts drift to the concept of time. The Babylonians were brilliant astronomers and developed a sophisticated calendar system. Their day was divided into 12 double hours, each double hour being equivalent to 2 of our modern hours. This means that when you awoke this morning, it might have been the equivalent of our 4 a.m., the first double hour of the day. And your breakfast, that pragmatic bite of barley bread and beer, was consumed during what might be considered the second double hour, around 6 a.m. This precise division of time highlights their meticulous approach to life, even down to the moments of their morning meal. It wasn't just about eating. It was about eating within a structured, cosmic order. You finally arrive at your destination, perhaps the construction site of a new ziggurat, its massive mud brick base already towering over the surrounding buildings. Or perhaps a workshop where you craft pottery or weave intricate textiles. Whatever your profession, the day stretches before you, long and demanding. Your breakfast, simple though it was, has served its purpose. You feel the faint, dull ache of satisfaction, the knowledge that your body has received the necessary fuel to face the labor ahead. There's a certain grim determination in this, a resilience born of necessity. The Babylonian breakfast, it turns out, wasn't just a meal. It was a testament to survival, a quiet defiance against the harsh realities of an ancient world. And as you pick up your tools or join your fellow laborers, you know that the next meal is many hours away, a distant promise in the sweltering heat of the Babylonian sun. The sun, now a brazen disk in the sky, beats down with an intensity that promises a truly scorching day. The air shimmers above the dusty ground, and the faint, sweet smell of river water, mingled with the less pleasant scent of humanity and animals, hangs heavy. Your morning meal, simple as it was, is already a distant memory, the energy it provided slowly being consumed by the physical demands of your labor. Your muscles ache with a familiar protest, a testament to the repetitive motions of your work, whatever it may be. Whether you're hauling mud bricks for a new temple, meticulously carving a seal, or haggling over prices in the market, your body is a tool, and it requires constant fuel. You wipe a bead of sweat from your brow, the grit of dust immediately replacing it. The lack of fresh, cooling water is becoming more noticeable. You yearn for a long, deep drink, but the public well is a short journey away, and every moment spent away from your work is a moment lost, a moment that could mean less pay or more tasks to complete before the day's end. This constant negotiation between need and efficiency is a subtle but powerful force in Babylonian life. It's not just about what you eat, but how that consumption fits into the relentless rhythm of your existence. As you work, your mind, perhaps to distract itself from the heat and the labor, drifts back to the topic of food, specifically the role of bread. We've established that barley bread was a staple, but it's worth noting the sheer variety that existed, even within the confines of a basic grain. Some loaves might be leavened, others unleavened. Some might incorporate dates or sesame seeds for flavor. Others might be baked with a hole in the middle, designed to be strung onto a rope for easy transport. This surprisingly diverse approach to bread is a testament to Babylonian ingenuity. It's like they had their own ancient version of a bread buffet, just with fewer artisanal sourdough options. Imagine going to a Babylonian bakery and asking for a gluten-free sprouted lentil sourdough. You'd probably get a blank stare, followed by a swift kick out the door. A mainstream historical fact: the Babylonians were incredibly skilled at irrigation. Without their sophisticated network of canals, ditches, and dikes, large-scale agriculture in the arid Mesopotamian plain would have been impossible. These elaborate water management systems were not just about growing crops, they were about sustaining an entire civilization. Every grain of barley, every date, every fish that you might have consumed for breakfast was, in some way, a direct result of their mastery over water. It was a symbiotic relationship. The rivers provided the water, the Babylonians provided the ingenuity, and in return, the land yielded its bounty. A light joke to break the monotony: why did the Babylonian always carry a map? Because he didn't want to get lost in the zigzag urats. Okay, that one might need a visual aid. Or perhaps, what's a Babylonian's favorite form of exercise? Lifting heavy tablets at the library. You're clearly in need of a break. Your humor is suffering. The scholarly debate surrounding the role of fats in the Babylonian diet is quite fascinating. While olive oil was certainly known and used, especially by the wealthy, the primary source of fat for the common Babylonian likely came from animal fats, rendered tallow, or perhaps sesame oil, which was also cultivated. But how much fat, and in what proportion to carbohydrates and protein, did they consume? Archaeologists analyze ancient food residues found in pottery, while textual scholars pore over economic records and recipes. There's still much debate about the precise balance of their macronutrients. Some argue for a largely carb-heavy diet, others for a more balanced approach. It's almost like they had their own ancient version of the keto debate, except without the Instagram influencers. You find yourself contemplating the sheer amount of physical energy required to simply exist in this era. There were no machines to lighten the load, no automated systems to streamline tasks. Every furrow in the field, every brick laid, every jar filled was done through sheer human effort. Your breakfast, therefore, wasn't just a meal. It was raw power, converted from grain and water into muscle and sweat. It's a stark reminder of the incredible resilience of ancient peoples, their capacity for sustained physical labor that would utterly exhaust most of us in the modern world. You probably wouldn't survive this, not without a serious training montage and a deep appreciation for air conditioning. A quirky tidbit: the Babylonians were known for their love of banquets and feasts, especially among the elite. While your breakfast was pragmatic and utilitarian, the ruling class certainly knew how to indulge. These feasts would feature roasted meats, exotic spices, sweet pastries, and copious amounts of wine and beer. So, while your morning was all about fuel, theirs was about celebration and display. It's a bit like comparing a quick breakfast burrito to a 5-course tasting menu. The contrast is stark, but both serve their purpose within their respective social strata. It makes you wonder if they ever suffered from food comas after such lavish meals. Probably not. They likely just went back to ruling their empire with a full stomach and a happy heart. As the morning wears on, the sounds of the city intensify. The cries of street vendors grow louder, the conversations more animated. The smell of cooking wafts from various homes, signaling that lunch preparations are underway. But for you, lunch is still hours away, a distant oasis in the desert of your workday. Your breakfast, meager as it seemed, continues to do its job, slowly releasing its energy into your system. You take a moment to stretch your aching back, and your eyes scan the horizon. The Great Ziggurat, a stepped pyramid reaching towards the heavens, dominates the skyline, a testament to the power and ambition of Babylon. It's a reminder of the grand scale of this civilization, and your own small, yet essential, part within it. You think about the sheer volume of food needed to feed a city the size of Babylon. Thousands upon thousands of people, all requiring sustenance, day after day. This required an incredibly efficient agricultural system, rigorous organization, and a vast network of distribution. From the farmers to the bakers, from the brewers to the merchants, everyone played a role in ensuring the city was fed. Your breakfast, therefore, was not just a personal meal. It was a tiny cog in a massive, interconnected food machine. It makes you appreciate the complexity of ancient societies, often underestimated in our modern, technology-driven world. They might not have had smartphones, but they certainly had their logistical challenges. As the sun climbs higher, the heat becomes almost unbearable. You find yourself seeking out any sliver of shade, however fleeting, for a brief respite. Your thoughts return to the water well. Perhaps it's time for a quick trip, a moment to rehydrate before the true heat of the midday descends. That thick barley bread and beer, while filling, can't provide everything. The thirst is real, a constant companion in this arid land. You wipe your brow again, the dust clinging stubbornly to your skin. The Babylonian breakfast, a foundation of energy, has done its part. Now it's up to you to push through the remainder of the morning, fueled by that simple, ancient sustenance and the sheer will to endure. The midday sun glares down like an angry god, searing the very air. The sounds of the city, once a vibrant chorus, have dulled slightly under the oppressive heat, replaced by a more lethargic hum. You've been working for hours now, and the effects of your humble breakfast are beginning to wane. Your stomach rumbles, a deeper, more insistent sound than the earlier polite murmurs. Thirst, too, has become a constant companion, a dry rasp at the back of your throat. You glance longingly at the distant shimmer of the Euphrates, imagining the cool, muddy water. But the river is too far for a quick break. Your work demands your presence. You take a momentary pause, wiping the sweat from your eyes with the back of a dusty hand. The sensation of the coarse linen of your tunic against your skin, now damp with perspiration, is a familiar one. Around you, fellow laborers, merchants, or artisans also show the signs of the relentless sun and hard work. Their faces are streaked with dust and sweat, their movements growing heavier. There's a shared understanding in their weary expressions, a silent camaraderie born of mutual endurance. Everyone here is grappling with the same fundamental challenge: how to sustain themselves in a world that demands so much. Let's delve a bit deeper into the grains that formed the backbone of the Babylonian diet, beyond just barley. While barley was king due to its drought resistance and versatility, wheat was also cultivated, though perhaps to a lesser extent for the average person. Wheat was often considered a more refined grain, used for finer breads or for the elite. So, if your breakfast was a coarse barley bread, it was because it was readily available, cheaper, and provided the necessary bulk. Think of it as the difference between a rustic whole grain loaf and a delicate white bread. Both are bread, but they serve different purposes and cater to different palates and budgets. This reliance on core grains is a mainstream historical fact that underpinned most ancient civilizations. A light joke for some relief. Why did the Babylonian farmer always get good sleep? Because he had a lot of barley corns. Or, what did the Babylonian say when he found a really good deal on clay tablets? This is a great tablet deal. My apologies. The heat must be getting to my sense of humor. The scholarly debate about the methods of food preservation in ancient Babylon is quite extensive. How did they keep their grains, dates, and dried fish from spoiling in the intense heat? We know they used drying, salting, and smoking, but the specifics of these techniques, their scale, and their efficiency are still actively researched. For instance, were there specialized communal drying areas for fish, or was it largely a household activity? How long could dried dates really last, and under what conditions? These questions are crucial for understanding the logistics of feeding a large urban population year-round, especially through lean seasons or times of drought. It's a complex puzzle of archaeology and textual analysis, trying to piece together the pantry of an ancient empire. You recall a quirky tidbit about Babylonian food preparation. They sometimes used tamarisk wood as fuel for cooking. This wood, common in the region, imparted a distinct flavor to the food. So, your barley bread or any roasted meat you might have had would have carried a subtle, smoky note from the tamarisk. It's a small detail, but it speaks to the resourcefulness of the Babylonians, using what was readily available to them, and how their environment subtly shaped their culinary landscape. It's like their version of a wood-fired oven, just with a very specific kind of wood. As the sun reaches its zenith, casting almost no shadows, the heat becomes truly oppressive. You consider the importance of water once more. The Babylonians developed complex hydraulic systems, not just for irrigation, but also for providing water to their cities. While you might rely on a public well, the elite might have had access to private cisterns or even channels bringing water directly to their homes. This tiered access to resources is a fundamental aspect of any ancient society, reflecting the social hierarchies. The struggle for water was as much a social issue as a practical one. You probably wouldn't survive this if you were relying solely on your ancient means of hydration in this heat. Dehydration would be a constant, debilitating threat. The concept of a work break, as we know it, simply didn't exist in the same way. While there might have been brief lulls in activity or moments for quick sips of water, the day was largely a continuous stretch of labor. Lunch, when it finally arrived, would be another pragmatic meal, often similar in nature to breakfast. More barley bread, perhaps some vegetables if available, or a bit more dried fish. It wasn't a leisurely affair with multiple courses. It was another necessary refueling stop, a moment to regain some strength before the afternoon's work. The Babylonians were incredibly disciplined, or perhaps simply had no other choice. You cast your gaze around the bustling marketplace, or across the vast construction site, seeing the myriad faces of Babylon. Farmers, artisans, soldiers, scribes, priests, all driven by the same fundamental needs. Their morning meals, whether humble or slightly more refined, were the bedrock upon which the entire edifice of their daily lives was built. It's a powerful image, this silent, collective act of survival, fueled by the very earth beneath their feet. The ancient Babylonian breakfast, more than just food, was a testament to human resilience, a symbol of their continuous struggle and ultimate triumph in a challenging environment. You think of the sheer resilience of the human body enduring such conditions. No air conditioning, no refrigeration, limited access to medicine. Yet life continued, generations built upon generations, powered by simple, nourishing food. It makes you reflect on the luxuries of our own time, the ease with which we can access a diverse array of foods, chilled drinks, and comfortable environments. We take so much for granted, things that would have been unimaginable luxuries to an ancient Babylonian. Your breakfast, A simple bite of barley bread becomes a symbol of this profound difference in lifestyle and expectation. As the afternoon sun begins its slow descent, though still intensely hot, you feel a faint whisper of relief. The day's end, and with it, the promise of a more substantial evening meal is drawing closer. But for now, you push on, drawing on the last vestiges of energy from your morning's sustenance. The barley bread, the dates, the thick beer, they have served you well, allowing you to endure. The Babylonian breakfast, a humble beginning to a hard day, remains a powerful reminder of the deep connection between food, labor, and survival in the ancient world. You wipe your brow one last time, your arm muscles protesting, but your spirit unbroken. The afternoon stretches out, a seemingly endless expanse of heat and toil. The air is thick with dust, occasionally stirred by a hot, dry wind that offers no relief, only serves to coat your throat and eyes. Your muscles ache with a persistent, deep-seated weariness, a fatigue that settles into your bones. The memory of your morning meal feels like a dream, a faint echo of sustenance long since burned away by the demands of your work. Your thoughts are now singularly focused on the evening, on the promise of a more substantial meal, a chance to truly replenish your depleted energy reserves. As you continue your labor, your mind drifts to the concept of nutrition. While the Babylonians didn't have a scientific understanding of vitamins, minerals, and macronutrients, they intuitively understood what foods provided energy and sustenance. Their diet, largely plant-based with supplementary protein from fish or occasional meat, was surprisingly balanced for its time. Barley provided carbohydrates and fiber, dates offered quick sugar and some minerals, and lentils and chickpeas delivered protein. The beer, with its suspended yeast and grain particles, added further nutrients. It was a functional diet, designed to keep a physically active population alive and working. This intuitive understanding of functional food is a mainstream historical fact that pervades many ancient cultures. They ate what worked. A light joke to try and lift your spirits. Why did the Babylonian farmer bring a ladder to the fields? Because he heard the crops were outstanding. Or, what's a Babylonian's favorite board game? Backgammon, of course. They invented it practically. Okay, maybe you're getting a little delirious from the heat. The scholarly debate surrounding the role of herbs and spices in Babylonian cuisine is quite active. While we know they had access to various herbs like coriander, cumin, garlic, and onions, and even some imported spices, the extent to which these were incorporated into daily meals, especially breakfast, is debated. Were they common additions for everyone, or primarily reserved for the wealthy and for special occasions? Ancient texts provide some clues, but often lack specific quantities or regular use descriptions. It's a bit like trying to reconstruct a modern family's daily meals just from their fanciest cookbook. We know they could have used them, but did they regularly? The jury is still out, simmering gently, perhaps with a dash of ancient cumin. You recall a quirky tidbit about Babylonian culinary practices. They sometimes used sesame oil not just for cooking, but also as a form of medicine, or even as an ingredient in cosmetics. This multi-purpose use of a single resource highlights their resourcefulness and the interconnectedness of their daily lives. The same oil that might have graced your breakfast bread could also be used to soothe aching muscles or moisturize skin. It's a stark contrast to our modern compartmentalized approach to products. For them, it was all part of the same natural bounty. The relentless sun begins its slow descent, painting the western sky in fiery oranges and deep purples. The air, though still hot, takes on a softer quality, and the shadows begin to lengthen, offering a welcome respite. The sounds of the city, which had muted during the midday heat, now begin to revive, a renewed energy pulsing through the streets as the day draws to a close. People are starting to make their way home, their faces etched with the fatigue of a long day, but also with the quiet anticipation of rest and a good meal. You too feel the pull towards home. Your work for the day is largely done, the tasks completed, the obligations fulfilled. The prospect of the evening meal, perhaps a more substantial lentil stew or some roasted vegetables, is a powerful motivator. Your breakfast, that simple barley bread and beer, served as the foundation, the initial spark that ignited your day. Now it's time for the larger refueling, the slow winding down. You probably wouldn't survive this kind of daily grind without serious adjustment. Our bodies are simply not conditioned for the continuous, intense physical labor that was the norm in ancient Babylon. As you walk home, the twilight deepening, you pass by the communal ovens again. They are still warm, perhaps even now being used for late-day baking. The aroma of baked bread, a comforting and universal scent, fills the air. You think about the enduring legacy of Babylonian agriculture and food production. Their innovations in irrigation, their cultivation of staple crops, and their methods of food preparation laid the groundwork for future civilizations. The simple act of preparing and consuming a meal, even a humble breakfast, was a thread connecting them to the past and influencing the future. The scholarly debate about the precise composition of Babylonian beer continues to intrigue researchers. Was it always a thick, porridge-like substance, or did its consistency vary significantly? Were there different grades of beer, some more refined, others more rustic? And how did they manage the fermentation process without modern scientific understanding? These questions are explored through experimental archaeology, where researchers attempt to recreate ancient brewing techniques based on textual and archaeological evidence. It's a delicious debate, especially if you get to sample the results. Some argue that ancient beer had a more sour, tart flavor, while others suggest it was sweeter. Imagine trying to explain that to a modern craft brewer. You finally reach your modest dwelling. The air inside is still warm, holding the day's heat, but it feels like a sanctuary. You shed your dusty tunic and for a moment simply stand, allowing the weariness to wash over you. Your morning breakfast, though long digested, leaves a faint, lingering impression, a testament to a life lived close to the earth, dictated by its rhythms, sustained by its bounty. It was a meal of necessity, of survival, a quiet beginning to a demanding day. And as you prepare for the evening, the simple, profound act of eating, of nourishing your body, takes on a deeper meaning in the ancient world. You are a part of a long, unbroken chain of humanity, fueled by the same fundamental needs, bound by the universal ritual of breaking bread. The stars, like scattered diamonds, begin to pepper the inky canvas of the Babylonian night sky. The air, finally yielding some of its heat, carries a gentle breeze, a welcome caress against your weary skin. The sounds of the city are softening, replaced by the chirping of crickets and the occasional distant bark of a dog. You've had your evening meal, a more substantial affair than breakfast, and a sense of quiet contentment settles over you. Your body, though still tired, feels replenished, ready for the deep, restorative sleep that will prepare you for another demanding day. As you lie on your reed mat, gazing up at the faint glow of the moon filtering through the narrow window, your thoughts linger on the food that sustains life. The daily rhythm of meals, from the quick, practical breakfast to the more communal evening repast, defines the flow of existence in this ancient world. It's a dance between hunger and satiation, labor and replenishment, a cycle as old as humanity itself. And the staple, the constant throughout this cycle, remains the humble grain. A mainstream historical fact: the Babylonians, like many ancient civilizations, stored their grain in massive granaries. These structures were crucial for ensuring food security, particularly during times of drought or conflict. Imagine the meticulous accounting involved, the precise measurements of barley and wheat flowing in and out of these vast storehouses. It was a sophisticated system, vital for maintaining social order and preventing famine. Without these granaries, the entire empire would have been far more vulnerable. It's a testament to their foresight and organizational skills, a truly monumental effort to feed a nation. A light joke for your tired mind. Why did the Babylonian always bring a towel to the river? Because he heard it had a good currency. Or, what's a Babylonian's favorite type of party? A tabletop dance party. You're clearly winding down. Your jokes are becoming truly ancient. The scholarly debate about the exact caloric intake of the average Babylonian is ongoing. How many calories did a typical laborer consume in a day to maintain their demanding lifestyle? Researchers attempt to estimate this by analyzing known food sources, typical portion sizes derived from archaeological evidence, and the energy expenditure required for various ancient professions. It's a complex calculation, relying on a lot of assumptions and educated guesses. Was it 2,500 calories? 3,000? More? The exact number remains elusive, a subject of continuous discussion among economic historians and dietitians of the ancient world. It's almost like they're trying to put ancient Babylonians on a modern diet plan, which sounds exhausting. You recall a quirky tidbit about food presentation in ancient Babylon. While your breakfast was likely eaten straight from your hand or a simple bowl, the elite often served their food in elaborate ceramic dishes, sometimes even adorned with intricate designs. There were specialized vessels for different foods, and the act of dining, for the privileged, was a ritual of display and status. So, while you were wolfing down your barley bread, some high-ranking official was probably sipping sweetened milk from a beautifully crafted goblet. It's a reminder that even in ancient times, presentation mattered, at least to those who could afford it. The moon is higher now, casting long, ethereal shadows across the room. The sounds of the city have faded to a soft whisper, a gentle breath of the collective slumber. You think about the profound connection between food and civilization itself. The ability to produce a surplus of food allowed people to specialize, to develop crafts, to build monumental structures, and to create complex social structures. Your simple breakfast, therefore, was not just a meal for you. It was a tiny, essential component in the vast engine of Babylonian civilization. It was the foundation upon which cities were built, laws were written, and empires thrived. You probably wouldn't survive this. The sheer scale of the food production system required to support such a population is mind-boggling even with modern technology, let alone ancient methods. As you drift closer to sleep, images of the day pass through your mind. The bustling market, the sun-baked fields, the rhythmic clang of the blacksmith. Each image is infused with the subtle underlying presence of food, the constant need for sustenance. From the barley growing in the fields to the bread baking in the communal oven to the fish drying by the river, food was woven into the very fabric of existence. It was a source of comfort, a measure of wealth, and a testament to ingenuity. The scholarly debate about the role of fermentation in Babylonian food extends beyond just beer. Did they ferment other foods like vegetables to preserve them or enhance their flavor? While direct evidence for widespread fermentation of vegetables like we see in some other ancient cultures is less clear, the principles of fermentation were certainly understood through their beer brewing. It's a tantalizing question. Did Babylonians enjoy ancient pickles or sauerkraut? The archaeological record, unfortunately, is often silent on such ephemeral culinary practices, leaving much to the speculation of dedicated food historians. You close your eyes, the last lingering thoughts of the day slowly dissipating. The ancient Babylonian breakfast, that humble, practical meal, has set the stage for your day, fueled your labor, and brought you to this moment of rest. It wasn't glamorous, but it was essential. It wasn't diverse, but it was effective. And in its simplicity, it offers a powerful glimpse into the realities of life in a civilization that, despite its grandeur, was fundamentally built upon the most basic human needs. As you breathe deeply, the last remnants of the day's heat slowly receding from your body, you feel the comfort of the earth beneath you, the quiet rhythm of your own breath, and the deep, profound satisfaction of a day well spent and a body well fed. The quiet hum of the sleeping city is a balm. The air is now truly cool, a refreshing contrast to the day's oppressive heat. You lie still, wrapped in the simple comfort of a thin wool blanket. The familiar sense of dust and dried reads a comforting presence. Your body, having received its evening replenishment, feels heavy and settled, sinking deeper into the reed mat. In this deep quiet, your mind, surprisingly, is drawn once more to the intricacies of Babylonian sustenance, particularly the role of something seemingly minor: salt. Salt in ancient Babylon was far more than just a seasoning. It was a vital preservative, essential for curing meats and fish, allowing them to be stored for extended periods, especially crucial in a hot climate without refrigeration. It was also a commodity, traded and controlled, and even used as a form of currency at times. So, while your breakfast might not have been heavily salted, the very availability of salted foods for later meals was a testament to the importance of this mineral. It's a mainstream historical fact that salt played a pivotal role in ancient economies and daily life, often more valuable than gold in some contexts. You wouldn't survive this if you didn't have access to salt. Dehydration and food spoilage would become critical issues without it. A light joke for the sleepy listener: why did the Babylonian fish whisper? Because he didn't want to disturb the other sleeping fish in the riverbed. Or, what did the Babylonian chef say about his latest dish? It's amazing. My humor is clearly stuck in the ancient grain aisle. The scholarly debate regarding the extent of milk and dairy consumption in ancient Babylon is a persistent one. While cattle, sheep, and goats were certainly present, and evidence of cheese and yogurt making exists, the regularity of dairy in the average Babylonian's diet, especially for breakfast, is not entirely clear. Was it a common addition, or more of a seasonal treat, or even a luxury? Textual sources mention milk and dairy products, but their frequency in everyday meals for the general populace remains a subject of archaeological and historical investigation. It's like trying to figure out if people today drink milk every day or just occasionally from fragmented grocery lists. You recall a quirky tidbit. The Babylonians were among the first to understand and utilize the concept of crop rotation. They observed that rotating different crops on the same land could help maintain soil fertility and prevent depletion of nutrients. This sophisticated agricultural practice, which ensured a consistent food supply, directly impacted the availability of grains like barley and wheat for your daily bread. It's a silent testament to their advanced understanding of agronomy, a foundational element of their civilization's longevity. They were basically agricultural geniuses, long before anyone even coined the term. The silence of the night is profound now, broken only by the gentle whisper of the wind through the reed roof. You think about the sheer efficiency of the Babylonian diet born out of necessity. Every calorie counted, every resource was maximized. There was very little waste, unlike our modern societies. Leftovers were consumed, and even discarded materials often found a new purpose. This sustainable approach to food, a forced virtue, offers a stark contrast to contemporary food systems, where abundance often leads to significant waste. Imagine the shock of a Babylonian seeing our overflowing landfills filled with perfectly edible food. As you drift deeper into the liminal space between waking and sleeping, your mind constructs vivid images of the ancient markets, overflowing with fresh produce, dried goods, and the aroma of exotic spices. You see the faces of the vendors, their weathered hands measuring out grains and dates. You hear the rhythmic grinding of millstones, turning barley into flour for your morning bread. These are not just historical facts. They are sensory memories, painted with the brushstrokes of ancient life. The scholarly debate extends to the precise types of sweetening agents used in Babylonian cuisine. While dates were a primary source of sweetness, did they also use honey extensively? Honey was known, but perhaps not as widely available or as cheap as dates. Some texts mention honey in special recipes or for medicinal purposes, but its role in daily sweetening for the average person is still debated. Were your occasional sweet cravings satisfied only by dates, or did you sometimes get a taste of precious honey? It's a sweet mystery, still being unraveled by careful analysis of ancient culinary texts. You recall another quirky tidbit. The Babylonians had a goddess of grain, Nisaba, who was revered for her role in ensuring bountiful harvests. This spiritual connection to their food sources highlights the profound importance they placed on agriculture and the sustenance it provided. Your daily barley bread wasn't just a physical commodity. It was, in a sense, a gift from the divine, a sacred provision that allowed life to continue. It adds a layer of reverence to the simple act of eating, a spiritual dimension often lost in our modern, secular approach to food. The rhythmic rise and fall of your breathing mirrors the slow, steady pulse of the sleeping city. You feel a profound sense of connection to these ancient people, linked by the universal human need for nourishment. Your Babylonian breakfast, a mere handful of dried dates and a chunk of barley bread, becomes more than just food. It's a historical anchor, a tangible connection to a civilization that shaped the very course of human history. As you finally succumb to the embrace of sleep, the images of ancient Babylon, its bustling markets, and its humble, sustaining meals gently fade, leaving behind a sense of peaceful contemplation. A deep, dreamless sleep has claimed you, a much-needed respite from the day's relentless demands. Now, as the first faint blush of dawn streaks across the eastern sky, painting the clouds in shades of rose and gold, you stir. The air, still cool and crisp, carries the faint, familiar scent of wood smoke from distant hearths where the first morning fires are being kindled. The world outside is beginning to awaken, slowly at first, then with a growing murmur of life. Your body, rested and somewhat restored, instinctively recognizes the familiar pang of hunger. The cycle begins anew. You push yourself up from your reed mat, the rough texture now feeling less alien. The single room of your home, still dim, offers a sanctuary from the encroaching day. You stretch, your muscles still a little stiff, but far less protesting than yesterday. The routine is ingrained, a comforting predictability in a world of constant variables. The first order of business, even before considering food, is to perhaps splash a bit of cool water on your face from a small clay basin, shaking off the last vestiges of sleep. A mainstream historical fact about Babylonian domestic life is that hygiene, while not to our modern standards, was still important. Public and private bathhouses existed, and while a full bath might be an occasional luxury, basic washing was a daily ritual for many. So, while your breakfast might be simple, the act of preparing yourself for the day, even with just a splash of water, signifies a certain level of personal care and readiness for social interaction. It's not just about what you put in your body, but how you prepare the body itself for the day ahead. You probably wouldn't survive this, given our obsession with hot showers and elaborate toiletries. A light joke to start the day. Why did the Babylonian scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field, especially barley fields. Or, what did the cuneiform tablet say to the scribe? Don't get too attached to me, I'm just a temporary record. Your morning humor is still a little sluggish. The scholarly debate surrounding the role of trade routes in diversifying the Babylonian diet is quite profound. While staple foods were locally grown, did exotic ingredients from distant lands, like spices from India or even fruits from Egypt, make their way into the average Babylonian's diet, especially for breakfast? Evidence from archaeological finds and textual records suggests a robust trade network, but whether these goods were widely accessible or solely reserved for the elite is still debated. It's a puzzle of ancient economics. How far did a fig from a distant land travel before it reached a Babylonian breakfast table, and at what cost? You recall a quirky tidbit about Babylonian cooking methods. They sometimes used large, communal roasting pits for cooking meat, especially for feasts or religious ceremonies. While your daily meals might involve simple pots over a small hearth, the concept of slow roasting large cuts of meat for communal consumption was well understood. Imagine the aroma wafting through the city on a festival day, a rare and tantalizing scent for the common person. It's a reminder that their culinary world, while often simple, also contained moments of grand communal feasting. As the sun peeks over the horizon, casting long, dramatic shadows, the sounds of the city grow louder. The distant bleating of sheep, the lowing of cattle being herded to pasture, the rhythmic splash of water from a nearby well. These are the sounds of life awakening, a familiar symphony that sets the pace for your day. You prepare your breakfast with practiced ease. A chunk of barley bread, perhaps a handful of dried dates, and a jug of thick, dark beer. The simplicity of it is almost elegant, a direct connection to the earth and the labor required to coax sustenance from it. The importance of the family unit in the acquisition and preparation of food in ancient Babylon cannot be overstated. While there were communal ovens and markets, much of the daily food preparation happened within the household. Women played a crucial role in grinding grain, kneading dough, and preparing meals. This domestic sphere was the engine of daily sustenance. Your breakfast, though simple, was a product of this intricate household economy, a testament to the collective effort of your family unit. It was a communal act, even if consumed individually. The scholarly debate on the use of sweeteners beyond dates and honey continues to be explored. Did Babylonians use other forms of sugar, perhaps from fruit juices or even early forms of molasses? While specific evidence is scarce, the general human desire for sweetness suggests they would have explored various options available to them. It's a delicious mystery, waiting for more archaeological or textual clues to be unearthed. Perhaps one day we'll find an ancient Babylonian recipe for a truly exotic breakfast pastry, one that doesn't involve just barley. You take your first bite of the barley bread, its dense texture a familiar friend. The earthy taste, slightly nutty, is immediately recognizable. You wash it down with a deep draught of beer, the robust flavor a wake-up call to your senses. It's not a breakfast designed for pleasure but for purpose. It's fuel for the body, energy for the mind, and a silent promise of endurance. The sun is rising higher now, its golden rays illuminating the dusty streets. Another day in Babylon has begun, fueled by the ancient rhythm of life and the simple, enduring power of its breakfast. You are part of this timeless flow, a small, essential piece of a grand, ancient tapestry. The morning light fills your small dwelling, painting the mud brick walls with a warm, gentle glow. You finish the last bite of your barley bread, its satisfying density a fading memory on your tongue. The jug of thick, dark beer is emptied, leaving a faint residue at the bottom. Your stomach, now pleasantly full, sends signals of readiness to your brain. Another day, another set of tasks, another journey into the heart of bustling Babylon. You feel a familiar resolve settle over you, a quiet determination to meet the demands of your ancient existence. As you step out into the alleyway, the sounds of the waking city are more pronounced now. The clatter of pottery, the distant bleating of goats, the murmur of human voices. The air, still cool from the night, holds the promise of the coming heat, but for now it's a refreshing embrace. You notice the dust, ever present, already beginning to swirl in the faint breeze. This is your world, a tapestry woven from earth, water, and human endeavor. A mainstream historical fact about Babylonian society is the intricate social hierarchy. From the king and his court at the top, through priests, scribes, merchants, artisans, and farmers down to slaves, everyone had a defined place. This hierarchy directly impacted daily life, including what you ate for breakfast. While your barley bread was a commoner's staple, the king might have enjoyed spiced porridges made from fine wheat, rich with honey and rare fruits. Your station determined your plate, a stark reality in ancient Babylon. It was a clear, unyielding line, not something you could easily cross, no matter how much you wished for a royal breakfast. A light joke for the morning. Why did the Babylonian messenger always get confused? Because he kept getting his cuneiforms mixed up. Or, what did the Babylonian parents say to their child who wouldn't eat their lentils? Don't be a bean, why? Eat your greens, why? My ancient humor continues its relentless march. The scholarly debate surrounding the role of vegetables in the average Babylonian diet, particularly for breakfast, is quite nuanced. While onions, garlic, leeks, and various leafy greens were cultivated, their inclusion in the very first meal of the day is less certain. Were they primarily consumed at lunch or dinner, cooked into stews, or were small amounts sometimes added to morning porridges? Archaeological evidence of seeds and plant residues confirms their presence, but the frequency of their consumption, especially raw or lightly prepared, remains an area of active research. It's a bit like trying to figure out if people eat salad for breakfast by digging through their modern trash. You recall a quirky tidbit about Babylonian agriculture. They sometimes used the lunar calendar to guide their planting and harvesting schedules. The phases of the moon were believed to influence crop growth, and farmers would carefully observe the celestial cycles to determine the optimal times for their agricultural activities. This connection between the heavens and the earth, between cosmology and daily sustenance, adds a fascinating layer to their understanding of food production. Your barley bread was literally a product of the moon's influence, in a way. As you walk through the increasingly busy streets, you observe the myriad activities unfolding around you. A potter is already at work, his wheel spinning rhythmically, shaping wet clay into useful vessels. The rhythmic clang of a blacksmith's hammer echoes from a nearby workshop. Children, their energy boundless even in the early morning, chase each other through the alleyways, their laughter a bright counterpoint to the more serious adult endeavors. Life in Babylon is a vibrant, intricate dance of individuals contributing to the collective whole. The importance of water transportation for food distribution in Babylon cannot be overstated. The Euphrates and Tigris rivers, and their intricate network of canals, served as vital arteries for moving goods, including food. Grain, dates, fish, and even livestock could be transported by boat from agricultural areas to the heart of the city, ensuring a steady supply for its large population. Your breakfast, therefore, was not just the product of local fields. It was also a testament to the efficiency of their ancient logistics and transportation networks. Without those waterways, feeding Babylon would have been an even greater challenge. You probably wouldn't survive this, trying to move millions of tons of food by hand. The scholarly debate about the origins of specific Babylonian recipes continues to fascinate food historians. Were certain culinary techniques or dishes imported from neighboring cultures, or were they unique Babylonian innovations? For instance, the exact lineage of certain types of bread or beer recipes is a subject of scholarly investigation, comparing them to similar practices in Sumer, Akkad, or later Assyria. It's like tracing the family tree of a dish, trying to pinpoint its exact birthplace and lineage. Did your barley bread have ancient Sumerian ancestors, or was it a purely Babylonian creation? A delicious mystery. You finally arrive at your place of work, whether it's a bustling market stall, a quiet scribe's office, or a dusty construction site. The day stretches before you, a long ribbon of toil and purpose, but you are ready. Your ancient Babylonian breakfast, though simple, has served its purpose. It has provided the fuel, the sustenance, the quiet resolve to face another day in this magnificent, demanding city. As you begin your tasks, the lingering taste of barley and the faint memory of thick beer are a testament to the resilience of a people, and the timeless human need to be nourished, body and soul, for the journey ahead. The sun climbs higher, and the work begins in earnest. The midday sun beats down with renewed ferocity, pushing the heat index to almost unbearable levels. The air is still, heavy, and thick with the scent of dust and the faint aroma of simmering stews from nearby homes. You've been working for hours now, and the initial surge of energy from your morning meal has long since dissipated. Your body aches, a dull, persistent throb in your shoulders and back, and a prickle of sweat runs down your temples. Thirst is a constant, nagging companion, a dry sensation that makes your tongue feel thick. You pause, leaning against a rough mud brick wall, seeking a fleeting moment of shade. Your eyes scan the surroundings, taking in the heat-hazed landscape of Babylon. The vibrant colors of the morning have faded under the harsh glare, replaced by a more monochromatic palette of browns and grays. The sounds, too, have softened, a lethargic hum replacing the earlier bustle. Even the birds seem to have retreated, seeking refuge from the relentless sun. A mainstream historical fact, the concept of lunch, as a distinct, formal meal was often fluid in ancient Babylon, much like breakfast. For many, it was simply a break to consume another practical, portable meal similar to their morning fare: a piece of bread, some dried fruit, perhaps a small portion of leftover stew. It wasn't a time for elaborate dining. It was a necessary pause to refuel before the long afternoon stretch of work. This pragmatism in meal structure highlights the survival-oriented nature of their daily lives. You probably wouldn't survive this, accustomed as we are to dedicated lunch breaks and a variety of options. A light joke to try and distract from the heat. Why was the Babylonian scribe so good at poker? Because he always knew how to read the clay face. Or, what did the Babylonian say when he dropped his freshly baked bread? Oh, crumbs! You're reaching for anything to lighten the mood. The scholarly debate regarding the methods of baking bread in ancient Babylon is surprisingly intricate. While communal ovens were common, as mentioned, there's discussion about the types of ovens: dome-shaped, rectangular, pit ovens. The fuels used: wood, dung, reeds, and the precise techniques for achieving different bread consistencies. Some researchers even attempt to recreate these ancient breads, using historically accurate ingredients and methods to better understand their texture and flavor. It's a fascinating blend of archaeology, culinary science, and a deep appreciation for the humble loaf. The texture of your breakfast bread, therefore, is a product of millennia of human experimentation with heat and dough. You recall a quirky tidbit about Babylonian culinary tools. They used basalt grinding stones to mill their grain. These heavy, durable stones were essential for processing barley and wheat into flour. The repetitive motion of grinding grain was a significant part of daily life for many households, particularly for women. It was a physically demanding task, a precursor to your morning bread, a silent testament to the manual labor involved in every step of their food chain. Imagine spending hours each day just grinding flour. It puts your kitchen appliances in a new light, doesn't it? As the sun begins its slow descent from its zenith, casting long, distorted shadows, you notice the subtle shift in the city's rhythm. The initial midday lull starts to give way to a faint re-energization, a slow preparation for the final push of the day. The air, though still hot, seems to hold a promise of cooler evenings. Your thoughts turn to the evening meal, knowing it will be a more substantial and perhaps more social affair. The importance of fats and oils in the Babylonian diet, beyond just their use in cooking, is another area of ongoing scholarly discussion. While sesame oil was prominent and animal fats were rendered, the precise role of these fats in providing energy and essential nutrients, particularly in a high-carbohydrate diet, is explored by modern nutritionists studying ancient diets. Were they consuming enough healthy fats to support their demanding physical lives? It's a question that blends ancient history with contemporary dietary science, trying to retroactively analyze the health impacts of an ancient way of eating. You consider the sheer resilience of the human body, its ability to adapt and endure in challenging environments. The Babylonian diet, while seemingly restrictive by modern standards, was perfectly adapted to their climate, their agricultural capabilities, and their energy needs. Your own body, though fatigued, continues to function, fueled by the memory of barley and the promise of future sustenance. It's a powerful lesson in human adaptability, a testament to the primal connection between food and survival. You probably wouldn't survive this if you tried to live purely on this diet without modern supplements for very long. The scholarly debate about the origins of brewing in Mesopotamia is a vibrant one. Did it originate with the Sumerians, the predecessors to the Babylonians, or was it a parallel development across different early cultures? The earliest evidence of beer production dates back millennia, indicating its profound importance from the very dawn of civilization. Your morning beer, therefore, connects you to an unbroken lineage of brewers stretching back into the mists of time, a beverage that has sustained humanity for millennia. It's a historical drink, a testament to ingenuity and a thirst for liquid refreshment, though perhaps not for the kind we enjoy today. As the afternoon progresses, you find a renewed resolve. The heat is still oppressive, but the knowledge that the day is slowly winding down provides a measure of comfort. You wipe your brow, the dust mixing with the sweat, and resume your tasks. Your ancient Babylonian breakfast, simple as it was, has done its duty. It provided the initial spark, the necessary fuel for the morning's exertions. Now you press on, looking forward to the next meal, the next moment of replenishment, another small victory in the ongoing saga of survival in ancient Babylon. The sun will set, and with it, another day will pass, marked by the rhythms of hunger, labor, and sustenance. The long, demanding day has finally begun its graceful descent. The sun, a less fiery orb now, casts long, painterly shadows across the city, painting the mud brick walls in shades of ochre and deep gold. The air, though still warm, carries a faint, welcome coolness, a promise of the evening's respite. The sounds of the city are softening, becoming more diffused, as people begin to wind down their labors and make their way home. A sense of quiet anticipation hangs. In the air, the collective yearning for rest and a replenishing evening meal. You too feel the pull towards your dwelling. Your body is heavy with fatigue, your muscles protesting with a dull ache. But your spirit, buoyed by the prospect of sustenance and repose, remains resilient. The journey home, often a bustling, noisy affair in the morning, is now a more subdued procession of weary figures, each carrying the silent testament of a day's hard work. You pass by a communal well, and this time you stop, gratefully drawing a cool bucket of water. The taste of fresh water, even if it carries the faint taste of earth, is pure bliss, a small but profound luxury after hours of dehydration. A mainstream historical fact about Babylonian agricultural cycles is their reliance on the annual flooding of the rivers. The Tigris and Euphrates, unlike the Nile, had unpredictable flooding patterns, which made irrigation even more crucial. This unpredictability meant that careful planning and grain storage were absolutely vital to prevent famine. Your daily bread, therefore, was a direct result of human ingenuity overcoming environmental challenges, a testament to their mastery of hydraulic engineering. It's a bit like playing a high-stakes game of ancient hydrological roulette every year. A light joke for the evening. Why did the Babylonian mathematician refuse to play hide-and-seek? Because he knew he'd always be number one. Or, what's a Babylonian's favorite movie genre? Epic sagas, especially if they involve ziggurats. My humor is consistently archaic. The scholarly debate about the dietary differences between urban and rural Babylonians is an active field of research. While city dwellers might have had access to a wider variety of imported goods through trade, rural populations were likely even more reliant on the staples they cultivated themselves, with less access to diverse proteins or exotic spices. Did a farmer's breakfast differ significantly from a city artisan's? While the core of barley and dates would remain, the nuances of their diets would likely reflect their immediate environment and access to trade networks. It's a fascinating look into the subtle variations, within an ancient society's culinary landscape. You recall a quirky tidbit about Babylonian writing. Cuneiform tablets sometimes contained lists of provisions, including food items for workers or temple personnel. These ancient receipts, or meal plans, offer invaluable insights into their daily diet and portion sizes. Imagine someone thousands of years from now finding your grocery list and trying to deduce your entire lifestyle from it. It's a direct window into the mundane realities of their food consumption, a fascinating glimpse into what constituted a standard issue meal for an ancient worker. As you near your home, the scent of cooking from other dwellings becomes more pronounced, a comforting medley of simmering grains, roasted vegetables, and perhaps the faint, tantalizing aroma of fish. The promise of dinner of a more substantial and relaxed meal is a powerful motivator, overriding the lingering fatigue. Your simple breakfast, consumed so many hours ago, played its vital part, providing the initial spark to endure the morning's toil. Now it's time for the evening's deeper replenishment, a chance to truly unwind and gather strength for the next cycle. The importance of the communal aspect of food in Babylonian society, especially the evening meal, cannot be overstated. While breakfast was often a solitary or quick affair, dinner was a time for family, for sharing stories, and for reinforcing social bonds. The act of breaking bread together, though literally barley bread, was a powerful symbol of unity and belonging. It wasn't just about sustenance, it was about community. You probably wouldn't survive this if you were accustomed to purely solitary dining. The social fabric of their lives was woven around shared meals. The scholarly debate about the methods of sweetening beverages, particularly their various forms of beer, continues to be explored. While dates provided a natural sweetness, did they add other ingredients to their beer to enhance flavor or sweetness? And was this done consistently? Some theories suggest the addition of fruit juices or other natural fermentables to create different flavor profiles. It's a complex area of research, blending brewing history with ancient chemistry, trying to understand the full spectrum of their liquid refreshment. Was your morning beer a plain, robust brew, or did it have a hint of something fruity? You finally reach your doorstep. The light inside your dwelling is dim, a welcoming glow in the deepening twilight. You push open the simple wooden door and step inside, the day's burden slowly beginning to lift. Your ancient Babylonian breakfast, that humble foundation, has carried you through another demanding day. And as you prepare for the evening meal and the well-deserved rest that follows, you feel a profound connection to the countless generations who have lived and toiled in this ancient land, sustained by the same earth, the same water, and the same fundamental need for nourishment. The rhythms of life, eternal and unchanging, continue. The deep quietude of the Babylonian night is now fully upon you. The air is cool and still, a welcome balm after the day's scorching heat. You lie stretched out on your reed mat, feeling the gentle rhythm of your own breathing. The day's labors are a fading memory, replaced by the deep contentment of a well-fed body and a mind finally at peace. Sleep, a profound and necessary surrender, slowly begins to beckon, promising oblivion until the first rays of dawn pierce the eastern sky. As you drift towards slumber, your mind, surprisingly, continues its gentle exploration of the nuances of Babylonian sustenance. Tonight, your thoughts are drawn to something a bit more refined, something that might have occasionally graced your plate if you were a bit luckier, or perhaps an indulgence reserved for special occasions. The role of fruit beyond just dates. While dates were ubiquitous, Other fruits like pomegranates, figs, and grapes were also cultivated. These would have been seasonal treats, offering a burst of freshness and sweetness that stood in contrast to the daily staples. Their presence in the diet, however fleeting, reminds you of the small pleasures available even in an ancient world. A mainstream historical fact: the Babylonians were highly skilled horticulturists, cultivating a wide variety of fruit trees and gardens. The famed Hanging Gardens of Babylon, whether mythical or real, speak to their advanced knowledge of irrigation and cultivation of non-staple crops. So, while your breakfast might have been simple, the broader agricultural landscape supported a surprising diversity of plant life. It's a testament to their green thumbs, long before anyone invented a gardening show. A light joke to lull you to sleep. Why did the Babylonian always carry a piece of string? Because he liked to tie up loose ends, especially on his cuneiform tablets. Or, what's a Babylonian's favorite type of coffee? Decaf, because they were already pretty ancient. These jokes are designed to make you drift off, not necessarily laugh out loud. The scholarly debate concerning the use of oils in Babylonian cooking is quite specific. Beyond sesame oil, which was prevalent, did they extensively use other plant-based oils, such as linseed oil, or even animal fats beyond simple tallow? While evidence suggests a reliance on sesame for most culinary purposes, the nuances of their fat consumption, and any regional variations, remain a subject of detailed archaeological analysis of food residues in ancient pottery. It's a delicate task, like trying to figure out someone's cooking oil preferences from a 1,000-year-old greasy pan. You recall a quirky tidbit about Babylonian leisure. They played board games, including a game similar to backgammon. While not directly related to food, it speaks to their capacity for recreation and intellectual pursuits beyond mere survival. Imagine, after a long day of hard labor, sitting down with friends or family, perhaps with a small bowl of dates and a cup of beer, to engage in a game of strategy. It offers a glimpse into their social lives, a reminder that they were complex individuals with desires beyond just basic sustenance. The faint sounds of the city, once a bustling symphony, have now faded to an almost imperceptible whisper. The air is still, heavy with the quietude of a sleeping world. You think about the enduring legacy of Babylonian inventions and their impact on daily life, even something as simple as breakfast. Their development of complex irrigation systems allowed for consistent grain production. Their mathematical advancements helped them track harvests and manage resources. Their cuneiform writing enabled them to record recipes and food inventories. Every aspect of their sophisticated society subtly contributed to the food on your plate. You probably wouldn't survive this. The sheer reliance on manual calculation and complex societal organization without modern technology is truly remarkable. As you sink deeper into the embrace of sleep, your mind paints images of the Fertile Crescent, the life-giving rivers, and the tireless efforts of generations of Babylonians to cultivate the land. You see the farmers tilling the fields, the bakers shaping the dough, the brewers tending their vats. Each act, however small, was a crucial part of the grand tapestry of sustenance that supported their civilization. Your humble breakfast, therefore, was not just a meal. It was a link in this ancient chain, a product of ingenuity, hard work, and the bounty of the earth. The scholarly debate concerning the role of fermentation in food preservation beyond beer and bread is still quite open. Did Babylonians ferment other grains or vegetables to create different types of food products, perhaps some ancient form of sourdough or fermented porridge. While explicit textual evidence is sometimes lacking, the widespread understanding of fermentation principles suggests its potential application to a wider range of food items. It's a fascinating area of speculation, trying to uncover the full extent of their ancient food science. Did your barley bread sometimes have a subtle, tangy note from a sourdough starter? Perhaps not. You recall another quirky tidbit. The Babylonians were keen astronomers and believed that celestial events influenced agricultural yields. They meticulously observed the stars and planets, connecting cosmic patterns to the success of their harvests. So, your morning meal was not just a product of the earth, but also, in their eyes, a blessing from the heavens, guided by the movements of distant stars. It adds a mystical, awe-inspiring dimension to the simple act of eating, a reminder of humanity's ancient connection to the cosmos. As sleep finally claims you, the last thoughts of ancient Babylon gently dissolve. The images of bustling markets, the sounds of everyday life, and the simple, sustaining meals fade into the peaceful darkness. You are simply a body at rest, sustained by the rhythms of the earth and ready to face the dawn. The Babylonian breakfast, a distant memory, has served its purpose, allowing you to slip into the quiet depths of sleep, prepared for whatever the next ancient day may bring. The first tendrils of dawn, soft and pearlescent, begin to creep over the horizon, chasing away the remnants of the night. A faint, cool breeze stirs the air, carrying the subtle sense of awakening Babylon. Damp earth, distant wood smoke, and the undeniable tang of the Euphrates. You stir on your reed mat, a deep, restorative sleep having woven its magic. Your body feels lighter, refreshed, and a familiar, comforting emptiness in your stomach signals the return of hunger. The cycle, as ancient and predictable as the rising sun, begins anew. You sit up, stretching your limbs, feeling the faint protest of muscles that will soon be engaged in another day's labor. The single room of your dwelling, still cool in the early morning, offers a quiet space for contemplation before the bustle of the world outside intrudes. You think about the profound simplicity of your daily sustenance. No complex recipes, no exotic ingredients, just the fundamental elements provided by the land and the rivers. It's a diet stripped down to its essentials, a testament to efficiency and practicality. A mainstream historical fact about Babylonian culinary culture is the emphasis on communal feasting, especially during religious festivals or significant civic events. While your daily breakfast was utilitarian, these feasts were extravagant affairs, featuring roasted meats, lavish spreads of vegetables, sweet pastries, and copious amounts of wine and beer. These grand meals served not just as celebrations, but also as expressions of social cohesion and religious devotion. They were a stark contrast to the everyday, a moment of collective indulgence and spectacle. You probably wouldn't survive this if you were used to our sedentary lifestyles. Those feasts were likely followed by hours of dancing or parades. A light joke to greet the dawn. Why did the Babylonian calendar always make people smile? Because it had so many great dates. Or, what's a Babylonian's favorite kind of cloud? One that looks like a ziggurat. My jokes are still firmly rooted in Mesopotamia. The scholarly debate about the precise role of fish in the average Babylonian diet is a fascinating one. While the Tigris and Euphrates were abundant with fish, and fishing was a common occupation, how frequently did fish appear on the breakfast table for the common person? Was it a regular protein source, especially when fresh meat was scarce, or more of an occasional addition? Archaeological evidence of fish bones in refuse heaps provides clues. but the quantitative analysis of their dietary importance is still a subject of ongoing research. It's like trying to calculate how many times someone ate tuna salad last year based on the number of empty cans in their recycling bin. You recall a quirky tidbit about Babylonian trade. They imported cedar wood from distant lands like Lebanon. While not directly edible, this timber was crucial for building temples, palaces, and even some specialized tools. This long-distance trade demonstrates their sophisticated network of commerce, bringing resources from far and wide to sustain their civilization. Imagine the sheer effort involved in transporting massive cedar logs across hundreds of miles, a testament to their engineering and logistical prowess. Your world was far more interconnected than many might imagine. As the sun begins its slow ascent, casting a warm glow over the rooftops, the sounds of the waking city grow louder. The distant bray of a donkey, the lowing of cattle, the chatter of voices as neighbors greet each other. These are the familiar rhythms of your world, a comforting backdrop to the quiet ritual of preparing for the day. You reach for your rough barley bread, feeling its familiar weight in your hand. The thick beer, stored in its clay jug, is waiting. The importance of the family garden, even in an urban setting, is another area of historical interest. While large-scale agriculture provided staple grains, many households likely maintained small plots or courtyards where they grew vegetables, herbs, or even a small fruit tree. These small gardens would have provided valuable supplementary nutrition and added variety to the family's diet, especially for the evening meal. Your breakfast might be simple, but the broader family food system was often more diverse than it first appears. It was the original farm-to-table, just on a much smaller scale. The scholarly debate surrounding the precise types of lentils and pulses cultivated in ancient Babylon is quite specific. Were they primarily red lentils, green lentils, chickpeas, or a wider variety? Textual references and archaeological seed analysis provide clues, but definitively identifying and quantifying each type consumed, especially in specific meals like breakfast, remains an ongoing challenge. It's a bit like trying to categorize every single bean in a giant ancient bean bag. You recall another quirky tidbit about Babylonian religious practices. Offerings of food and drink were made to the gods in temples. These offerings often included bread, beer, dates, and even roasted meats. This practice highlights the spiritual significance of food in their culture, not just as sustenance for the living, but as a means of connecting with the divine. Your daily breakfast, in a small way, was a reflection of this larger sacred relationship with food, a silent acknowledgement of the bounty provided by the gods. You take your first bite of the barley bread, its familiar taste grounding you in the present moment. The cool, thick beer slides down, invigorating your senses. It's not an elaborate meal, but it is precisely what you need. Fuel, sustenance, a solid foundation for the demanding day ahead. As you step out of your dwelling, joining the growing throng of Babylonians heading towards their daily tasks, you carry with you the quiet confidence that comes from a body nourished and a spirit ready to face the ancient world. The sun is fully up now, and the vibrant life of Babylon embraces you once more. The morning sun, now a bright, unwavering presence in the sky, bathes Babylon in a warm, golden light. The air is still relatively cool, holding the last vestiges of the night's freshness, but the promise of heat looms large. You have finished your Spartan breakfast, the last crumbs of barley bread gone, the thick beer jug emptied. Your stomach feels settled, a quiet hum of energy replacing the emptiness of moments before. ready, as you must be, for the demands of the ancient day. As you navigate the increasingly busy alleyways, heading towards your daily labor, your thoughts drift to the concept of time and its measurement in ancient Babylon. Beyond the solar and lunar calendars, they had a sophisticated system of water clocks and sundials to track the passage of hours. This meticulous approach to timekeeping reflects their organized society, where even the precise moment of rising and breaking fast might have been subtly influenced by the movement of shadows or the drip of water. Your breakfast, therefore, was not just an act of eating. It was a punctual ritual within a meticulously ordered world. A mainstream historical fact: the Babylonians developed a base 60 numeral system, which is why we still have 60 seconds in a minute and 360 degrees in a circle. This mathematical prowess was applied to everything from astronomy to architecture, and yes, even potentially to the precise measurement of grain for daily rations or temple offerings. So, even your simple breakfast might have been quantified using a system that still echoes in our modern lives. It's a bit like eating a cookie and realizing the number of chocolate chips was calculated using ancient Babylonian math. A light joke for the early riser: why did the Babylonian always bring a broom to the market? Because he wanted to sweep up all the good deals. Or, what did the Babylonian say when he saw a beautiful ziggurat? That's a tall tale. My humor is deeply steeped in Mesopotamian clay. The scholarly debate about the origins of the concept of a balanced diet in ancient Babylon is a complex one. While they didn't have our scientific understanding of nutrients, did their traditional dietary practices, evolved over millennia, intuitively lead to a relatively balanced intake of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats? Researchers examine the nutritional profiles of their staple foods and compare them to the inner demands of ancient life. It's a fascinating look into the unwritten dietary guidelines of an ancient civilization built on generations of trial and error. It's like their version of a paleo diet, but without the expensive supplements and juice cleanses. You recall a quirky tidbit about Babylonian art. Scenes of banquets and food preparation are sometimes depicted on cylinder seals or stelae. These artistic representations offer invaluable visual clues about their culinary practices, from the types of food consumed to the vessels used and the social context of meals. Imagine seeing a tiny, intricately carved scene of someone else's ancient breakfast on a seal, a silent tableau of a moment thousands of years ago. It's like finding a historical Instagram post, just a lot harder to scroll through. As you reach your destination, whether it's a scribe's office where you will meticulously inscribe cuneiform, a workshop where you will craft intricate jewelry, or the fields where you will toil under the sun, the day's work begins in earnest. The energy from your breakfast, though subtle, continues to sustain you, a quiet promise of endurance. The sounds of the city swell around you, a vibrant symphony of human activity, a reminder that you are part of a grand, ancient drama. The importance of water management for daily life, beyond just agriculture, is a critical component of Babylonian existence. Aqueducts and canals not only brought water to the fields, but also into the cities for drinking, washing, and various industries like brewing and pottery. Your morning beer, therefore, was not just a product of grain, but also of a sophisticated infrastructure designed to deliver water where it was needed. It was an engineering marvel, constantly maintained and managed, a testament to their collective organizational power. You probably wouldn't survive this if you relied on walking miles to a river every day for all your water needs. The scholarly debate about the use of specific sweeteners in luxury food items is another intriguing area. While dates and honey were common, did the wealthy have access to other, rarer forms of sugar, perhaps imported or derived from less common plants? The search for evidence of such exotic sweeteners continues through chemical analysis of ancient residues. It's a sweet mystery, adding another layer to the complex tapestry of Babylonian cuisine. Imagine if they had ancient candy bars, made with ingredients we haven't even identified yet. You recall another quirky tidbit about Babylonian rituals. Certain food items were used in divination. Priests would sometimes examine the entrails of sacrificed animals or the patterns of oil on water to interpret omens and predict the future. This spiritual connection to food, beyond its sustenance value, highlights its profound symbolic importance in their culture. So your barley bread, while a mundane staple, was part of a larger worldview where food could even reveal the secrets of the cosmos. As you settle into your work, the faint, lingering taste of barley and the subtle memory of the thick beer are a testament to the simplicity and effectiveness of your ancient breakfast. It's a meal that reflects the ingenuity, the resilience, and the sheer practicality of a civilization built on the fertile lands between two rivers. The sun climbs higher, the work intensifies, and the rhythms of ancient Babylon continue, sustained by the enduring power of its basic, yet essential, nourishment. Another day is fully underway. The sun climbs steadily, its golden rays now piercing through the faint morning haze, beginning to assert its dominance over the Babylonian sky. The air, though still holding a whisper of the night's coolness, carries the distinct promise of the heat to come. Your morning meal, simple and effective, has provided its initial burst of energy, setting you on the path for another day of labor. The familiar pang of thirst, however, begins its subtle return, a gentle reminder of the constant need for hydration in this arid land. As you walk through the increasingly lively streets, the sounds of Babylon fully awaken now. Your thoughts drift to the societal structures that underpinned every aspect of life, including food. The presence of slaves in Babylonian society, whether from conquest or debt, meant that a significant portion of the population might have had an even more rudimentary diet, often working purely for their sustenance. Their breakfasts would have been the bare minimum, designed solely for survival and labor. This grim reality is a mainstream historical fact, a stark reminder of the social inequalities inherent in ancient civilizations. A light joke for the morning commute. Why did the Babylonian always carry a map in the desert? Because he didn't want to get lost in translation of his route. Or, what's a Babylonian's favorite animal? The tigress, because it's so powerful and flowing. My ancient attempts at humor are truly straining. The scholarly debate surrounding the role of bread as a form of payment or rationing in ancient Babylon is a significant area of research. Cuneiform tablets often detail payments of grain or bread rations to laborers, soldiers, or temple workers. This suggests that bread was not just food, but a fundamental unit of value and a crucial component of the ancient economy. Was your daily bread part of a direct wage, or was it a fixed ration, regardless of output? The intricacies of this ancient payroll system are still being meticulously pieced together by economic historians. It's like their version of direct deposit, just with more crumbs. You recall a quirky tidbit about Babylonian animal husbandry. Sheep were not just raised for their wool and meat, but also for their milk, which could be used to make cheese or yogurt. This diversification of animal products highlights their comprehensive approach to utilizing every resource. So, while your breakfast might have been devoid of dairy, the potential for it existed within their agricultural system, adding another layer to the potential richness of their diet, at least for some. As you finally arrive at your place of work, the sun now high enough to cast short, sharp shadows, the intensity of the day begins to settle in. The air feels heavier, warmer. The rhythm of your tasks, whatever they may be, begins anew. The energy from your barley bread and thick beer is slowly consumed, a testament to the continuous demands on your physical body. But you are ready. The simple fuel has done its job, preparing you to face the heat and the labor. The importance of the religious calendar in dictating aspects of the Babylonian diet is another fascinating area. Certain religious festivals or holy days might have involved specific dietary restrictions or the consumption of particular foods as offerings or communal meals. While your daily breakfast might have been unaffected, the broader weekly or monthly cycle of meals could have been influenced by these religious observances. It adds a spiritual dimension to the mundane act of eating, intertwining faith with daily sustenance. You probably wouldn't survive this if you were accustomed to a completely unrestricted diet. The scholarly debate about the precise brewing techniques for Babylonian beer continues to be refined. How exactly did they achieve the specific consistency and nutritional profile of their beer without modern equipment? Was it a cold fermentation process, or did they have methods for heating? What role did specific types of yeast play, even if they weren't scientifically understood? These questions are being explored through a combination of archaeological reconstruction and experimental brewing. It's a frothy area of research, seeking to uncover the secrets of ancient liquid bread. You recall another quirky tidbit about Babylonian architecture. The famous Ishtar Gate was adorned with vibrant, glazed bricks depicting lions, dragons, and bulls. These elaborate decorations speak to their artistic sophistication and their appreciation for beauty, even in practical structures. While your breakfast was purely functional, the city around you was a testament to a culture that also valued aesthetics and monumental achievements. It's a reminder that even amidst the daily grind, there was a rich artistic and cultural life. As you engage in your work, the sun steadily climbing towards its zenith, the reality of your ancient Babylonian breakfast truly sinks in. It wasn't about pleasure or indulgence or variety. It was about necessity, efficiency, and survival. It was the simple, sturdy foundation upon which an entire day of labor, and indeed an entire civilization, was built. And as the hours tick by, fueled by that humble sustenance, you feel a deep, quiet appreciation for the ingenuity and resilience of a people who coaxed life and civilization from the very heart of the desert. The afternoon sun, now directly overhead, seems to press down on Babylon with an almost physical weight. The air shimmers, distorting the view of distant ziggurats, and the dust motes dance in the harsh light. Your morning meal, a distant memory, has long since burned away, consumed by the relentless demands of your labor. Your body aches with fatigue, and your throat feels dry and scratchy, a constant reminder of the pervasive heat. Every movement requires a conscious effort. Every breath feels heavy. You take a moment, leaning against a sun-baked wall to gather your strength. The sounds of the city, once so vibrant, have mellowed into a low, persistent hum, a testament to the collective weariness. Even the normally boisterous children seem quieter, seeking what little shade they can find. This midday lethargy is a familiar part of the Babylonian day, a forced pause before the final push of the afternoon. A mainstream historical fact about Babylonian urban planning is the construction of elaborate drainage and sewage systems. While not as sophisticated as later Roman aqueducts, these systems helped manage water and waste within the city, contributing to public health. So, while your morning water might not have been filtered to modern standards, there was a conscious effort to manage the city's water infrastructure, an often overlooked aspect of ancient life. You probably wouldn't survive this without at least some basic sanitation. Disease spread rapidly in crowded ancient cities. A light joke for the weary soul. Why did the Babylonian always carry a spare stylus? Because he was afraid of breaking character. Or, what's a Babylonian's favorite kind of cloud formation? Cumulus form clouds, especially if they look like sheep. My humor is definitely feeling the heat. The scholarly debate about the extent of meat consumption in the average Babylonian diet is quite active. While large animals like cattle, sheep, and goats were raised, meat was generally considered a luxury, reserved for the wealthy or for special occasions and religious offerings. For the common person, protein often came from fish, legumes like lentils and chickpeas, and perhaps occasional small game or poultry. Did your breakfast ever feature meat? Highly unlikely, unless it was a leftover scrap from a rare feast. It's a debate about the true nature of their protein sources, a crucial aspect of their long-term health. You recall a quirky tidbit about Babylonian education. Children learned to write cuneiform by repeatedly copying texts onto clay tablets. These school tablets often contain simple lists of words or phrases, sometimes including names of food items. Imagine a young Babylonian student meticulously writing barley, dates, fish, over and over again, their lesson a direct reflection of their daily diet. It's a charming glimpse into the intersection of education and sustenance in the ancient world. As the sun begins its slow, deliberate descent from its peak, casting slightly longer shadows, a faint sense of renewed energy begins to stir within the city. The oppressive weight of the midday heat slowly, almost imperceptibly, begins to ease. Your thoughts turn to the approaching evening and the promise of a more substantial meal, a true replenishment after the day's exertions. The importance of the river ecosystem for the Babylonian diet cannot be overstated. Beyond just providing water for irrigation and fish, the riverbanks supported diverse plant life, including reeds for building and papyrus-like plants that could be used for various purposes. The river was a source of life in every sense, directly influencing the availability of food and resources. Your daily breakfast, therefore, was intrinsically linked to the health and bounty of the Tigris and Euphrates, the very arteries of Mesopotamia. The scholarly debate about the long-term health impacts of the Babylonian diet is a fascinating area, drawing on evidence from skeletal remains and textual accounts of common ailments. Did their high-carbohydrate, relatively low-fat diet contribute to specific health issues, or were they remarkably healthy given the conditions? While hard conclusions are difficult without more comprehensive data, it's a testament to the resilience of the human body that they thrived for so long on a diet so different from our own modern recommendations. It's like trying to give ancient health advice without knowing all the variables. You recall another quirky tidbit about Babylonian legal practices. Hammurabi's Code, one of the earliest and most complete written legal codes, contained laws pertaining to agriculture, irrigation, and food storage. These laws regulated everything from water rights to penalties for damaging crops, underscoring the vital importance of food security to their society. Your daily barley bread, therefore, was protected by the very laws that governed their empire, a small but significant piece of a highly regulated system. As you push through the final hours of your workday, drawing on the last reserves of energy from your morning meal, you feel a profound connection to the countless generations of Babylonians who have endured the same rhythms of life. The simple, effective sustenance of breakfast, the long hours of labor under the relentless sun, the yearning for the evening meal, and the quiet comfort of rest. It is a timeless human experience, etched into the very dust of ancient Mesopotamia. The sun sinks lower, promising relief, and with it, the day's work slowly draws to a close. As the sun begins its slow, majestic descent towards the western horizon, painting the Babylonian sky in fiery oranges and deep purples, a profound sense of calm begins to settle over the city. The intense heat of the day, though still present, has softened its grip, and a faint, cooling breeze whispers through the narrow streets. The sounds of daily labor are gradually fading, replaced by the gentler murmur of people making their way home, their faces etched with the weariness of a long day, yet also with the quiet anticipation of rest and replenishment. You, too, feel the pull towards your dwelling, your body heavy with fatigue but your spirit lightened by the approaching end of the day's toil. The memory of your humble morning meal feels distant, but its purpose has been served. It provided the initial spark, the essential fuel that carried you through the demanding hours under the sun. Now, it's time for the deeper nourishment, the communal gathering around the evening meal, a time for family and shared stories. A mainstream historical fact about Babylonian trade is their extensive network with neighboring regions and even distant lands. They imported luxury goods like lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, tin from Anatolia, and even exotic animals. While these didn't directly impact your daily breakfast of barley and beer, this vast trade network ensured the overall prosperity of the empire, which in turn supported the agricultural systems that fed the populace. The broader economic health of Babylon subtly guaranteed the food security that allowed you to have any breakfast at all. You probably wouldn't survive this if you were cut off from trade. A light joke for the evening cool-down. Why did the Babylonian always carry a pencil, in case he needed to draw a conclusion? Or, what's a Babylonian's favorite kind of story? One with a strong foundation, like a ziggurat. My ancient humor is stubbornly persistent. The scholarly debate about the precise role of bread stamps in ancient Babylonian society is quite intriguing. While some stamps were used to mark ownership or for religious purposes, others might have been used to identify different types of bread or even specific bakers. Was your morning bread marked with a baker's symbol, a small, subtle signature of its origin? The exact function and widespread use of these bread stamps are still subjects of archaeological investigation and debate among epigraphers. It's like trying to figure out if your ancient bread had a brand logo. You recall a quirky tidbit about Babylonian craftsmanship. They were skilled jewelers, creating intricate pieces from gold, silver, and precious stones. While your daily life might be far removed from such luxuries, the existence of this refined artistry speaks to the diversity of skills and talents within Babylonian society. It's a reminder that their world was not solely about survival. It also harbored moments of immense beauty and sophisticated creation. As you near your home, the distinct scent of cooking wafts through the air, a comforting and familiar signal that the evening meal is being prepared. It's a powerful sensory trigger, instantly easing some of the day's accumulated fatigue. The simple, rustic nature of the food, the communal aspect of its preparation and consumption, is a testament to the enduring human need for connection and sustenance, a ritual that transcends millennia. The importance of record-keeping on clay tablets for food management in ancient Babylon is a crucial mainstream historical fact. They meticulously documented everything from grain harvests and rations to livestock inventories and temple offerings. These tablets provide an invaluable window into their economic and administrative systems, allowing historians to piece together the logistics of feeding a vast empire. Your morning meal in some distant administrative office might have been a line item on one of these ancient ledgers, a small detail in a grand tapestry of data. You probably wouldn't survive this without record keeping. Imagine trying to manage a city the size of Babylon without any written records. The scholarly debate about the seasonal variations in the Babylonian diet, particularly concerning the availability of fresh produce, is an active area of discussion. While grains and dried dates were available year-round, how did the seasonal availability of fresh vegetables, fruits, and certain types of fish or game impact the overall diet? And how did they compensate during lean seasons? It's a puzzle of ancient food seasonality, trying to understand the ebb and flow of fresh ingredients across the year. Was your breakfast today different from a breakfast 6 months ago? Perhaps subtly so, depending on the harvest. You recall another quirky tidbit about Babylonian religious beliefs. They believed that the gods themselves enjoyed feasting, and elaborate meals were prepared as offerings in temples, sometimes accompanied by music and hymns. This highlights the deep spiritual connection they had with food, elevating it beyond mere sustenance to a form of worship and communion with the divine. So, your morning barley bread, though simple, was part of a larger cosmic order, a reflection of the sacred importance of nourishment. You finally step through the doorway of your humble dwelling, the cool darkness within offering immediate relief. The day is done. Your ancient Babylonian breakfast, consumed so many hours ago, has fulfilled its vital role, providing the foundation for a day of hard work and endurance. And as you prepare to join your family for the evening meal, you feel a profound sense of continuity, a timeless connection to the countless generations who have lived, toiled, and found sustenance in this ancient land, under the unchanging rhythms of the sun and the enduring bounty of the earth. The night settles in, promising rest and the renewal of another ancient day. The deep, comforting silence of the Babylonian night has fully embraced the city. The stars, brilliant against the inky blackness, seem to hang low in the sky, observing the sleeping world below. A cool breeze, a gentle whisper from the desert provides a welcome caress, rustling softly through the dried reeds of your roof. You lie still on your mat, deeply asleep, the day's weariness having finally relinquished its grip, allowing for profound and restorative slumber. As you rest, your unconscious mind, perhaps still processing the day's subtle historical textures, continues its gentle exploration of ancient Babylonian life, focusing tonight on the symbolic meaning of food. Beyond its physical necessity, food in Babylon carried profound social, religious, and even magical significance. Your daily bread, though utilitarian, was imbued with layers of meaning that transcended mere calories. It was a gift from the gods, a symbol of prosperity and a bond within the community. A mainstream historical fact, the Babylonians practiced various forms of divination, and food often played a role in these rituals. Priests would examine the livers of sacrificed animals or interpret the patterns of oil poured on water, all to divine the will of the gods or predict future events. So, The concept of food as a conduit for spiritual insight was deeply embedded in their worldview, extending far beyond the breakfast table. You probably wouldn't survive this if you were expected to interpret omens from your breakfast porridge. A light joke to softly accompany your dreams. Why did the Babylonian always carry a map in his sleep? Because he was dreaming of ancient roads, of course. Or, what did the Babylonian historian say about the future? It's all written in the stars, and occasionally on clay tablets. My nocturnal humor is reaching new levels of esoteric. The scholarly debate about the role of specific food offerings in Babylonian temple rituals is quite detailed. While general offerings of bread and beer are well documented, the precise types of grains, the preparation methods, and the symbolic significance of each specific food item offered to various deities are still subjects of intense research. Was a particular type of barley bread offered to a specific god on a certain day? These nuances are teased out from highly specialized religious texts and archaeological evidence. It's like trying to decipher an ancient divine menu. You recall a quirky tidbit about Babylonian medicine. Some medical texts suggest that certain foods were believed to have medicinal properties or could be used to treat various ailments. For instance, dates were thought to be good for strengthening the body, and certain herbs were used for digestive issues. So, while your breakfast was primarily for sustenance, it was implicitly understood to contribute to your overall health and well-being, a basic form of ancient nutritional healing. It's the original food as medicine approach, long before it became a hashtag. The cool air of the night, now almost crisp, flows gently through your dwelling. The distant hoot of an owl and the soft rustling of the wind are the only sounds. You think about the quiet dignity of the Babylonian people, their resilience in the face of a challenging environment, and their deep connection to the earth that sustained them. Their lives were intimately intertwined with the cycles of planting and harvesting, of flooding and drought, and every meal was a testament to this profound relationship. The importance of the family granary or food storage in a typical Babylonian household is a significant historical aspect. While large communal granaries existed, families also stored their own provisions, often in large clay jars or sealed pits, protecting them from pests and moisture. This self-reliance in food storage was crucial for survival, especially for those living outside the immediate city center. Your barley bread for breakfast, therefore, was a product of careful planning and diligent storage within your own home. You probably wouldn't survive this if you were completely dependent on daily market purchases. Long-term food security was a personal and family responsibility. The scholarly debate concerning the use of ancient Babylonian recipes is a fascinating one. While some clay tablets contain lists of ingredients and very brief instructions, they often lack the detailed step-by-step guidance of modern recipes. Reconstructing how ancient dishes were actually prepared from these cryptic texts is a challenge, often requiring extensive experimentation by modern food historians and archaeologists. Was your morning bread made exactly as described on some ancient tablet, or did the bakers rely on oral tradition and intuitive skill? It's a culinary archaeological dig, trying to recreate tastes from fragmented instructions. You recall another quirky tidbit about Babylonian social customs. Sharing food and drink was a powerful gesture of hospitality and friendship. Offering a guest bread and water, even if humble, was a sign of welcome and respect. So, your daily meal, though simple, was part of a larger cultural tapestry where food facilitated social bonds and demonstrated goodwill. It was more than just nourishment, it was connection. As you sink deeper into the quietude of sleep, the last lingering thoughts of ancient Babylon gently fade away. The images of bustling markets, the sounds of everyday life, and the simple, sustaining meals dissolve into the peaceful darkness. You are simply a body at rest, nourished by the earth, connected to a long line of humanity, and prepared for the renewal that comes with the dawn. The Babylonian breakfast, a distant memory, has served its purpose, ushering you into the tranquil embrace of sleep, ready for whatever the next ancient day may bring. The first blush of pre-dawn light, a faint pearlescent glow, begins to paint the eastern sky, slowly banishing the lingering shadows of the Babylonian night. A cool, crisp breeze, carrying the faint, earthy scent of distant fields, stirs the air. You begin to stir from a deep, restful sleep, your body feeling the familiar stirrings of awakening, and with it, the quiet insistence of hunger. The world outside is just beginning its slow, deliberate awakening, and you are a part of its ancient rhythm. You rise from your reed mat, stretching your limbs, feeling the pleasant ache of muscles that are both rested and ready for another day of toil. The small, mud-brick room of your dwelling is still dim, offering a brief sanctuary before the day's demands intrude. Your thoughts, even before fully awake, turn to the practicality of sustenance, the unwavering need to fuel your body for the hours of work ahead. It's a primal impulse, deeply ingrained, a testament to the continuous cycle of life in this ancient land. A mainstream historical fact about Babylonian societal organization is the presence of specialized guilds or crafts. Potters, weavers, scribes, metalworkers. Each profession often had its own traditions, and perhaps even specific dietary considerations related to their work. While your breakfast of barley bread and beer was universal, a metalworker might have needed more protein for their arduous physical labor, or a scribe might have preferred something lighter to keep their mind sharp. This professional specialization subtly influenced individual dietary needs and habits. You probably wouldn't survive this if you were expected to perform highly specialized labor on a diet not suited to your specific energy needs. A light joke to help you fully wake up. Why did the Babylonian farmer refuse to share his barley? Because he was a little grain wine. Or, what's a Babylonian's favorite kind of tablet? A chocolate tablet, but they hadn't invented it yet. My ancient humor is truly reaching its limits. The scholarly debate regarding the use of specific cooking vessels and utensils in ancient Babylon is a detailed area of archaeological study. Did they primarily use open hearths, or did they have more advanced pottery for cooking and serving food, especially for daily meals like breakfast? The analysis of pottery shards and their residues provides clues about cooking methods and the types of foods prepared. It's a fascinating look into the practical mechanics of ancient kitchens, trying to understand how your morning porridge was heated or your bread baked. You recall a quirky tidbit about Babylonian mythology, the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest surviving works of literature, contains descriptions of feasting and the consumption of food and drink. These literary references offer valuable insights into the cultural significance of meals and the types of food consumed, albeit often in a mythological context. Imagine reading an epic poem and finding a detailed description of someone's breakfast. It adds a layer of unexpected realism to ancient tales. As the sun's first direct rays begin to touch the highest rooftops of Babylon, the city slowly awakens with a symphony of sounds. The distant lowing of cattle, the rustle of straw as animals are stirred, the soft murmur of human voices. You make your way to where your simple breakfast awaits. A piece of sturdy barley bread, perhaps a few dates, and a jug of the thick, nutritious beer that serves as both sustenance and hydration. The importance of water purification techniques, then rudimentary ones, in ancient Babylon is a significant area of research. While boiling water would have been known, did they employ other methods, such as sedimentation or the use of natural filters, to improve the quality of their drinking water? The constant threat of waterborne diseases made these techniques crucial for public health, and thus for daily sustenance. Your morning beer, in some ways, was a safer alternative to untreated water, highlighting the ingenious adaptations of ancient peoples. You probably wouldn't survive this without some method of water purification. Modern medicine owes a lot to ancient observation. The scholarly debate about the origins of fermented beverages beyond beer in ancient Babylon is a fascinating and emerging field. Did they produce other types of fermented drinks from fruits, or perhaps even milk? While strong evidence is less prevalent, the widespread knowledge of fermentation suggests the possibility of a broader array of ancient libations. It's a tantalizing thought. Did Babylonians have ancient fruit wines or even early forms of kefir? The secrets are still swirling in the ancient dust. You recall another quirky tidbit about Babylonian social gatherings. Music played an important role in banquets and celebrations. Instruments like lyres, drums, and flutes would have accompanied feasts, adding to the festive atmosphere. While your breakfast was a solitary and practical affair, the broader culinary landscape of Babylon was often intertwined with music and joyous communal experiences, a reminder that even ancient people knew how to celebrate life. You take your first bite of the barley bread, its familiar texture and earthy taste grounding you in the present moment. The thick beer, a rich and filling concoction, washes it down. It's a breakfast of purpose, not pleasure but utterly effective. As you step out into the burgeoning life of ancient Babylon, the sun rising higher, casting long, dramatic shadows across the dusty streets, you feel a quiet resolve. Another day has begun, fueled by the ancient rhythms of life and the enduring power of its most fundamental nourishment. The world awaits. The morning light has fully embraced Babylon now, painting the grand ziggurats and mud-brick dwellings in a warm, golden glow. The air, though still holding a refreshing coolness, is quickly warming, carrying the vibrant sounds of a city fully awake and engaged in its daily life. You have consumed your morning meal, the last morsel of barley bread and the final sip of thick beer now providing the necessary fuel for the hours ahead. Your stomach feels settled, a quiet anchor against the demands of the day. As you make your way through the increasingly bustling marketplace, or towards the fields, or to your workshop, your senses are alive to the myriad details of ancient life. The rich tapestry of sounds, sights, and smells reminds you of the profound connection between humanity and its environment. Every aspect of your existence, from the clothes you wear to the air you breathe, is shaped by this ancient land and its life-giving rivers. A mainstream historical fact about Babylonian engineering is their mastery of brick-making. The vast majority of their buildings, from humble homes to monumental temples, were constructed from sun-dried or kiln-fired mud bricks. This mastery of materials was fundamental to their civilization's ability to build and sustain large urban centers, which in turn required efficient food systems to feed their populations. Your home, the very ground you walk on, and the structures around you are all products of this fundamental technology, a quiet testament to their building prowess. You probably wouldn't survive this if you were living in a temporary shelter. Their permanent dwellings were essential for establishing stability. A light joke for the busy morning. Why did the Babylonian always carry a ruler? Because he was a stickler for measurements, especially for his daily barley rations. Or, what did the Babylonian farmer say to his disobedient donkey? You're really being a pain in the Assyria. My ancient humor has truly reached its final, groan-inducing frontier. The scholarly debate concerning the use of various leavening agents in Babylonian bread is a specific area of interest. While some breads might have been unleavened, others clearly show evidence of fermentation. Was it wild yeast from the air, or did they use specific starters, perhaps even recycled from beer brewing? The exact methods for achieving different bread textures and rises are still being pieced together through analysis of ancient residues and experimental archaeology. It's a microscopic mystery, trying to understand the tiny organisms that shaped ancient baking. You recall a quirky tidbit about Babylonian clothing. They often wore simple linen or wool tunics, practical and adaptable to the hot climate. The fabric was coarse but durable, designed for comfort and longevity in a physically demanding world. So, even the clothes on your back are a reflection of the pragmatic realities of ancient life, perfectly suited to the environment and lifestyle that your breakfast prepares you for. It's a unified vision of ancient efficiency, from the inside out. As you finally arrive at your place of work, the full force of the Babylonian day settles upon you. The sun is climbing rapidly, the air growing warmer, the sounds of labor intensifying. But you are ready. Your ancient Babylonian breakfast, simple yet profoundly effective, has provided the necessary sustenance. It has anchored you, energized you, and connected you to the timeless rhythms of life in this powerful and enduring civilization. The importance of the family economy in Babylonian society and its direct impact on food production and consumption is a crucial area of historical study. Each household was a small economic unit, responsible for its own subsistence, even if supplemented by wider communal or state-controlled systems. Your breakfast, therefore, was not just a personal choice. It was a product of the collective labor and ingenuity of your family unit, from growing or acquiring the ingredients to preparing the final meal. You probably wouldn't survive this if you were dependent on purely individual effort. Family was critical for food security. The scholarly debate about the precise number of meals consumed per day by the average Babylonian is ongoing. While we focused on breakfast and mentioned a more substantial evening meal, were there other smaller snacks or informal eating opportunities throughout the day, especially during intense periods of labor? The textual evidence is often vague, leaving room for interpretation. It's a debate about the true cadence of ancient eating habits, trying to piece together a full 24-hour dietary picture. You recall another quirky tidbit about Babylonian leisure. They enjoyed music and storytelling. After a long day of work, families might gather to listen to tales of heroes, gods, and ancient kings, often accompanied by simple musical instruments. These moments of communal storytelling, perhaps with a shared bowl of dates or some leftover stew, provided mental and spiritual nourishment, complementing the physical sustenance of their daily meals. It's a reminder that ancient life, while hard, also contained moments of profound beauty and human connection. As you pick up your tools or take your place among your fellow workers, the full weight and wonder of ancient Babylon surround you. The sun is high, the work is demanding, but you are sustained. Your breakfast, A humble yet powerful symbol has fortified you for the journey. It is a testament to the ingenuity of a people who coaxed an empire from the desert, built on the foundations of barley, water, and an unwavering will to endure. Another day begins, filled with the echoes of a distant past and the timeless human quest for sustenance and purpose. So, as the last echoes of ancient Babylon fade, let's allow ourselves to sink deeper into the present moment. Feel the comforting warmth of your blanket, the gentle hum of the night, perhaps even the soft whisper of the fan. The demands of the day, whether they were as physically grueling as ancient brick-making or as mentally taxing as modern problem-solving, are now behind you. Just as the ancient Babylonian found solace in the evening after a day of toil, you too deserve this time of quiet surrender. Imagine the gentle darkness wrapping around you, a soft, velvety cloak. Your breathing deepens, each inhale bringing in calm, each exhale releasing any lingering tension. The weight of your body presses gently into your bed, a feeling of security and comfort. Let your mind wander to tranquil images. A still, moonlit garden, the quiet ripple of water in a calm pond, the soft rustle of leaves in a gentle breeze. There are no urgent tasks awaiting you, no immediate decisions to be made, only peace. Allow your thoughts to become soft, unfocused, like clouds drifting lazily across a vast, empty sky. Don't cling to them, just observe as they pass by, dissolving into the quietude. Your eyelids feel heavy, a pleasant weight pressing down, encouraging you to let go. Feel the gentle release in your jaw, the softening of your brow, the relaxation spreading through your shoulders and down your arms. Each part of you is finding its own path to stillness. The day is done. You have navigated its challenges, absorbed its lessons, and now it is time for profound rest. Tomorrow is a new beginning, a fresh canvas awaiting your touch, but for now there is only this moment, this peaceful, quiet moment of transition, of letting go. Drift now deeper and deeper into the soft embrace of sleep. You are safe, you are warm, and you are completely at peace. Let sleep carry you away, gently, completely, until the dawn.